Hello friends, welcome to YouTube channel Parliamentary Reporter. This is English shorthand dictation exercise number 47 and the dictation speed is 140 words per minute. Ready? Start. Honorable Chairman Sir, the President's address summarizes the achievements made by the government. It also maps out the future course of action. In the present case, the President's address counts abrogation of special status of Jammu and Kashmir as one of the achievements. I maintain that abrogation of special status of the state, abrogation of Article 370 and division of Jammu and Kashmir has been a historical blunder. It is not anything less than a misadventure. The address does not mention that the abrogation of special status and revocation of Article 370 in the first place goes against the fundamental values of Indian polity. These values have been cherished by the country for thousands of years. The basic value of truthfulness was murdered in the case of abrogation of Article 370 and special status of Jammu and Kashmir. The decision of the 5th August 2019 not only makes an assault on the fundamental values but also amounts to unilateral breach of the commitments made to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. In the first place, it was 1947 when the commitments were made. They were upgraded and given the status of constitutional guarantees. What is Article 370 except the constitutional guarantees that were agreed upon by the Government of India and the Constituent Assembly? The breach of these commitments was committed unilaterally. The commitments were made for a second time in 1952 when the Indian Parliament approved them on 5th August 1952. The third time commitments were made in 1975 when the Kashmir Accord was signed. Most of the members who are senior members and are part of this parliament must have been in this parliament when Kashmir Accord was signed. The Kashmir Accord gave a promise and a guarantee that relations between Jammu and Kashmir and the country will be governed by Article 370. Now you have unilaterally committed breach of all these commitments made. Is that not opposed to the basic principles of federalism, which are in the nature of the basic structure of the Constitution as laid down by the Supreme Court? Having committed the unilateral breach of these commitments, how can you give any kind of confidence to Bodo people with whom you are entering into an agreement? You are also holding negotiations with the Nagas and you will go for an agreement with them. What guarantee do they have that such an agreement will be respected when you have unilaterally committed breach of all the three commitments made in the Constituent Assembly in the Parliament in 1952 and thereafter? Sir, the narrative built up to market the decision of 5th August 2009 was a fake narrative. Just 2 months back, you had told the entire world that Jammu and Kashmir was the best state in the country. After 2 months, you said that it lagged behind in development. All the human development indices are in favor of Jammu and Kashmir, where we are much ahead of 15 states in the country. There has been no starvation deaths. There has been no farmer suicide, and there is no one without a roof on his head. There has been no lynching death. There has been nothing like that. We were ahead of 15 states. This shows that it was a false narrative that Article 370 stands between development and Jammu and Kashmir. There are 10 states which are much below Jammu and Kashmir. There was no Article 370 in respect of them. Why did they not usher in an era of development? Now this false narrative is belied by the frequent assurances they make to the northeast. All those were given to Kashmir or were present in the case of Kashmir. They are now being promised to the northeast. Even the inner line permit system, domicile rights, land rights and employment are being guaranteed to them. Does that not belie the false narrative that you built up to market your decision of 5th August 2019? It is not only that Jammu and Kashmir was denuded of its identity, denuded of its autonomy, and stripped of its territorial integrity, but it was also in gross violation of the Constitution. What have we achieved? Let us see it in a dispassionate manner. What did we achieve? Does the Kashmir dispute cease to be there? What prompted you to take the European parliamentarians and a delegation of foreign ambassadors on a guided tour? Has it ceased to exist? It is still there. The Kashmir dispute continues to be there to stare you in your face. The militancy has reached new levels. See what kind of inroads the militancy has made. You have apprehended a very senior police officer. It was alleged that he was hand in glove with the militants. He was the senior officer to whom you have entrusted the security of the ambassador of the United States. A few days back, you arrested a police officer from Kupwara again on the same allegation. A day before that, you raided a leader of the party in power in Shopian. Is there any kind of relief from the militancy? Every day, the incidents of militancy are growing. With every passing day, it is increasing. Please acknowledge that it is unconstitutional, it is unilateral, and it is a breach of commitment. So, please undo what you have done on 5th August last year, because you have not achieved anything. Rather, it has widened the gap between the people of Jammu and Kashmir and the people of Ladakh. The President's address did not make any mention about the longest blockade in the history and about the arrest of senior political leaders of Jammu and Kashmir. So I appeal to you to please give it a second look, as you have not achieved anything and you are not going to achieve anything. The matter is there and the problem is there. Honorable Chairman Sir, I wholeheartedly thank you for this opportunity. I want to register here with a cause of concern that the President's address can be neither welcomed nor praised. Never ever in the last 70 years the Honorable President in his address has praised the government in this manner for bringing several revolutionary laws during last session. Honorable President has even praised the government for withdrawing the special status accorded to Jammu and Kashmir. Honorable President has also praised the government for extending citizenship rights and protection to the minority people living in the neighboring countries by amending the Citizenship Amendment Bill. This government, which is connected to Sanatana principles, is very communal. Since the day this government came to power, there is no protection for minorities, Dalit and tribal people. Women, particularly girls, are not having protection in this country. They face atrocities every day. Particularly after enactment of the Citizenship Amendment Act, there were incidents of violence throughout the country and several persons were killed in firing incidents. There was an agitated atmosphere in the country. In such a violent atmosphere, devoid of peace, Honorable President has praised the present government, which is painful. The Citizenship Amendment Act is an act which is against the people and against the Constitution of our country. Some people consider that this act is targeting the Muslims, but the country is aware of the fact that the Citizenship Amendment Act is against the principles enshrined in the Constitution framed by Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Honorable President, while mentioning the principles and policies of great leaders, said that this government is committed to fulfill their vision. This is untrue. Therefore, I am sorry to state that the Honorable President's address is just aimed at felicitating the present government and not concerned in protecting the interests of the people or the country. It should not be assumed that only Muslims are agitating against the Citizenship Amendment Act. Honorable Home Minister and Honorable Prime Minister have time and again stated that they will not go back from their original stand as regards Citizenship Amendment Act, even though there are several protests against this act. This law is not only against Muslims, this law is against the country. This is legislated as a result of a conspiracy to divide the people on the basis of religion. Religion cannot be considered as a criterion. Many countries in the world have Refugees Act in order to accept refugees as citizens, but we do not have a separate act for refugees. In order to accept refugees as citizens, we should not have religion as a criterion.